for that welcome and introduction, and thank you all for giving me this platform to share my thoughts with you. The reason I was excited to come today is specifically what Professor Srivatsa said. The impact the Institute and its students, its alumni are making in India and around the world. And so I thought if I share my thoughts, my perspectives, my ideas with you, maybe it can trigger some more ideas and some more impact through you. So that's the reason why I'm excited to be here. And in that sense, my talk is also going to be sharing ideas, thoughts around the area of entrepreneurship. I'll start with some of the things that I'm doing, why I'm doing them very briefly, and then I'll go through a series of slides on entrepreneurship. Again, giving my perspectives, maybe a couple of anecdotes, etc., and quickly move to Q&A. That's my thought right now about the format. And I'm glad that you have enabled the people from Mohali to participate. It's exciting, so I hope they can hear, they can see what is happening here. The slides by themselves are placeholders for me to use it to talk about something, but just listen to me. Basically, the ideas and what I'm speaking. Since this is a talk on entrepreneurship, I thought I'll start with why I'm here. I'm here because Infosys is a successful company. It's, I believe, the first part of the first wave of entrepreneurship out of India, the late 70s, early 80s, etc. And on the left, you have a photograph taken somewhere in 1983. I can't point. Can I point with this? That's me. That's Narayan Murthy. There's another founder here, Ashok Arora, Shibulal. So there are 5 founders in this. Nandan is missing, and this is Dinesh. So 6 founders are actually there. And then you have a picture taken much later. All of us look very old. This is me. Now again, I've lost a lot of hair. Taken about 10 years back, actually. So quite a contrast, right? But the story of this is, we are actually proudly standing around the first computer that we bought in 1983 and 1984 and installed at Myco. And we were sharing that with Myco. Myco would use it on, during the daytime, and we would use it during the nighttime. And that's how we bootstrapped the business in some sense. It gave us steady income. In order to buy that computer, we had to get some money. We didn't have the money to buy the computer. Not a great amount of money, 35 lakhs actually. And we approached every single bank in the country. None of us would lend us money because there was no collateral, no real assets that they could see, and they didn't know what software is all about. There was no VC funding available at that point. And finally, the Karnataka State Finance Corporation, Karnataka State Industrial Development Corporation gave us the loan. And that is the reason why we shifted our registered office to Bangalore and why we are still in the Bangalore. We are quite grateful because the government gave us that money at that point. We returned the money within 3 years, and from that point onwards, with that experience of asking for money is actually quite a challenge. Raising funding is quite a challenge. And when you get declined everywhere, it's actually quite a challenge. And you'll never forget that experience ever again. We said we will be a zero debt company. We will not have to take money from outside ever. And that's the reason why you will see that Infosys has had significant cash in its books. Our philosophy was one of the ways you de-risk the business is to have all the money required to run the business for one entire full year with zero revenue and not having to fire anybody. Right? That's the philosophy that we created at that point. So that's the computer we bought, and we're standing around proudly after the installation of that computer. I also, after I stepped down from Infosys, decided to actually document the history of the IT industry in India. And this is, Itihasa is an attempt to document the history of the IT industry in India. So this is kind of a pitch to you. If you have not looked at it, if you have not downloaded it, please download. It's an iOS application or an Android app, so you can get it from the Play Store or the iOS Store. The reason why it's important is you will hear from the horse's mouth, from people like Ramadurai, F.C. Kohli, Asim Premji, Narayan Murthy, and professors, etc., how the industry was built, why the industry is where it is. You will hear about the genesis of NASSCOM as an industry association, the early days of the industry. What is the STPI policy and why did it help the industry? Who created the STPI policy, etc., etc. Hundreds of stories like that, about more than 50 hours of video recordings, interviews from these people. I was fortunate that every single one of them cooperated, spent more than 4 or 5 hours each, allowing us to record their thoughts. Today, more than 50 people are there recorded, and we plan to continue to expand this. It's a wonderful resource, and I've decided, I didn't want to create a book. I wanted to do something different, innovative, and it's released as an application on iOS or Android. So, but the opportunity for you is to actually listen to stories from these people, and it's a new format. We are now using this platform, hoping to use this platform to document history. It's a new way of documenting history from the perspectives of people. There are articles in the archive. That's also part of the artifact. There are pictures. So the first computer to IIT Kanpur was taken on a bullock cart from the airport to IIT Kanpur. The reason was the roads were pretty bad. So they were worried to take it on a truck because they thought the vibrations would actually damage the computer. So they took on a bullock cart with tires so that you minimize the vibration, etc. When the computer reached IIT Kanpur, they found that they couldn't take it inside because the door was too small. Right? So then they had to keep the computer outside, they had to break the wall, take the computer inside and rebuild the wall. Lots and lots of interesting anecdotes and things like that, like this, stories like these. I didn't know about these things. Being in the industry for so long, I didn't know, and that's the reason why I said I'll document this history. So this is one of the projects I am doing now. Of course, my experience all has been about working with Infosys, and now in the last 2 years working with Axelor and trying to create Axelor. Axelor is an attempt to help startups, and help startups basically, and I'll come back to this towards the end of my talk, help improve their odds of success, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. I also want to talk about 2 other things that I'm doing. Professor Srivatsa talked about healthcare, the initiative on brain. See, I firmly believe that the IT industry was created in India because people realized that this is a huge opportunity. This is an innovation that's going to transform the world, and India should be there from the beginning. And they created the opportunity for us to access technology, to create curriculum which IITs delivered through their programs. Of course, the industry came into being, the government supported it. It's a complete effort to create an industry. It's a complete effort to create an industry, and it worked, and worked amazingly. I firmly believe that if you want to create future industries in India, there has to be an all-round concerted effort to build such an industry. I've taken one area like that in the area of brain, healthcare, and brain-inspired computing, because the new models of computing will emerge. And I won't go into that because that is a topic for an entire talk by itself, because I believe computing is at a crossroad today, and the decisions that we make will decide the road it's going to, the path it's going to take in the future, and we need to take the right path. So brain-inspired computing is one area, and aging and aging-related disorders like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia is the other area that I'm working on. But fundamentally, how can we do world-class research out of India? How can we globally collaborate when we do the research? And how can we solve a social challenge and a problem that's facing our country in doing so? That's the reason why I've chosen the area of brain. I wanted to talk about Araku is because it's in Andhra Pradesh. It's actually an experiment. And this story, I don't know how many of you have read about Araku. How many of you have read about Araku? Quite a few people. Good. It's, Araku Valley here in Andhra Pradesh is a valley primarily inhabited by tribal people. So over the last 10 years, the government and the Nandi Foundation have worked in creating a coffee ecosystem there, biodynamic, that means organic coffee, and using a cooperative model and a business model, we are taking this coffee to the world. And what we are extremely proud, this is theory into practice, that this coffee is retailing in Paris 7,000 rupees per kg. The power of branding and things like that. Very interesting story, you can read there. I'm involved in that in some sense. I'm part of the Nandi Foundation, fortunate to join the board, and I'm also on the supporting the commercialization and things like that. So that's another project I'm quite proud of, and again, I think it'll be exciting for ISB to think about this, the model and implications of the model and what we're trying to do. One more pitch here, a book some of my friends have created through the Confederation of Indian Industries. This book is being released this month. It's a manual for Indian startups. It's a how-to book actually. It gives you instructions on agreements and the contracts that you need to have. It gives you insights from some of the founders. Some of the founders have actually written articles on this and things like that. It's being released. It's a very small book, not very expensive. I think it's going to be priced around 200 or 250 rupees. So again, something I supported, and it's being released pretty soon. So coming to entrepreneurship, and I'm going to share some questions and then give you my perspectives actually. I know that many of you are already entrepreneurs. So in that sense, what I'm going to talk about probably will trigger or will allow you to understand some of the challenges that you're going through and maybe help you identify a solution. And based on my own experience, actually, in that sense, it's not theory, it's about my experience, etc. The first question is, of course, first of all, how many of you are entrepreneurs already? Okay, a good number. How many of you want to become entrepreneurs? Well, so quite a few actually. And so I'm told that ISB, unlike many other business schools, is a fertile ground for entrepreneurship, which is actually pretty good. It's nice to see that actually, because sometime back, I think probably 15, 20 years back, there was a study done in the US. Where do startups come from? Engineering schools or management schools? And 97% of the startups originated from engineering schools and only 3% from management schools. And of course, that article talked about, if you join a management school, you want to get into general management, you spend a ton of money, getting your degree, so you want to, as quickly as possible, get something in return. And predictable returns, right? Reduce the risk of return. So you take a general management role, and with the degree from ISB, you can get a job anywhere you want. So that's the natural path for most of you. But it's good to see that at least quite a few people are thinking about entrepreneurship. But the first question to ask, and see, when you venture to do a business startup, the uncertainty, the unpredictability, the challenges that you face will be significant, and you have to withstand these, and you have to be able to face these things. And so the right frame of mind, the right purpose of why you're doing that is very important. There are no right or wrong answers actually. You can say, I want to make a ton of money, and I've seen successful startups becoming large businesses, and also making money is also an equally good reason. But having a clear rationale for that is important, and more important is the people around you must have similar purposes. The alignment of purpose is extremely important, because this is a journey, this is a marathon, and you want people who are not going to drop off. So if the goals are aligned and everybody thinks about the same thing, if one person thinks about social impact, another person thinks about money, there's a clash at that point. And at some point when things become difficult, they will talk at each other, they will fight. So it's important to ask this question: why do you want to do a startup? What is the purpose in creating a startup? When Infosys was started, our goal was to create a globally respected corporation. Perfect alignment, with all of us agreed. We were lower middle class, and for us, respect was the most important thing. And we created Infosys for respect, and that drove everything that we decided, everything that we worked on. Every decision was questioned based on, will we get the respect of our customers? Will we get the respect of our employees? Will we get the respect of society? Will we get the respect of government? Will we get respect from our partners and suppliers, etc.? Everything was, tested using this filter. And the founders aligned based on that. Who are your heroes in business? And this is also very important, because all of us identify ourselves with certain people. Yesterday, I don't know how many of you watched that wonderful match that you saw, Delhi Daredevils and Gujarat Lions. Amazing. Two very young people, Sanju Samson and Pant, Rishabh Pant. And it's really young people who have no fear, who have no preconceived notions, no set beliefs, who can actually make this happen. And that was why it was so wonderful. Of course, before that, Suresh Raina actually played a wonderful innings, but this, completely, Suresh Raina's innings was completely forgotten because of these two kids, actually, and I shouldn't be using the word kids, actually, players, actually, and that's wonderful to see. So all of us actually want to, identify ourselves, want to celebrate, want to, look at heroes in our lives and things like that. Now, why is again this important? Because what it tells you is the qualities that you want to see in yourself, want to actually aspire to become. And again, it's a wonderful way actually to document and talk about, again, what your business want to be. So on the top, of course, well-known faces. I don't think I need to talk about any one of them. And then on the right, you have Mark Zuckerberg. These four people actually started their businesses while studying in the college. And a couple of them actually dropped out. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates dropped out. They didn't even complete their education. Of course, they created very large, of course, impactful businesses. They're very passionate about their company, very, very passionate about company. Again, another anecdote, I happened to have a lunch with Michael Dell. It's not one-on-one, there's a lot of people around, large hall, and I'm having lunch with him, and I was just trying to, engage in a conversation with Michael Dell, and I just asked, what computer are you using? Just asked that question, and he just stopped his lunch, opened his laptop, showed his nice latest Dell laptop, and he was talking for about 10-15 minutes about all the new features and all the technology that's there. Of course, he knew a little bit about Infosys, me, etc. But look at it. He's a successful business person. He's having his lunch, private moment. I'm sitting there just I asked casually a question. I spent 15 minutes talking about his company and computer. They're so passionate about their business. They live, breathe, sleep their company. The entire world is around their company. They're so passionate about it. That's the quality again. That's why when you identify with people, you need to understand what in them attracts you, what in them that you want to emulate and follow. How many of you know these three people at the bottom and the left? Anybody? Okay, one person. Okay. Alan Kay, on the left, object-oriented programming, father of object-oriented programming. He created something called Dynabook, which is the early version of a personal computer. Worked at Xerox PARC, where they came out with Windows and mouse and all that stuff. Seen again, very influential person in the area of computing. The next person is Vincent Cerf, TCP/IP protocol. Created the TCP/IP protocol. Again, influential, impactful, very important. The next person is Tim Berners-Lee, HTTP protocol. Again, transformed how computers are used and things like that. Again, if you're going to be in an area, in a field, in an industry, please read about its history. Please understand who made the industry where it is, why the industry is where it is, etc. It's important to know the path that has been taken to arrive at where you are. It's very, very important. So my, endeavor, was when I got some time, is to read about the history of the industry, where I belong, etc., so that I can probably think about what will happen in the future. How has it happened? How has it developed? And that's why, one insight I got is it takes the complete ecosystem to align if you want to create a huge, impactful industry. Complete ecosystem. Everybody has a role to play. Academics have a role to play. Industry people have a role to play. Entrepreneurs have a role to play. industry bodies have a role to play, government has a role to play, everybody has a role to play. And they all need to work together if you want to create an impactful industry. Is this the best time to start a business for me? Very important question and a very personal question. And I will tell you, I'm supporting a startup, I won't name it actually. Startups always go through some challenges, right? And they're going through some challenges, fundraising issues, market slowed down, so the business had to pivot, and they were going through challenging times. 3 founders. One of the founders decided to get married. And he said, now my expenses are going up, so I want double the salary I'm getting. Can you pay? And they're going through fundraising, etc. So, you need to think about your circumstances. If your family is dependent on your income, you need to really think about whether, because predictability goes down, your income is lower than if you would actually take a regular job, because you will probably get equity, ESOP, etc., rather than compensation at that point. And suddenly one of the founders decides that he wants to do something else. Infosys, Ashok Arora, I said, the 7th founder is not there in the second picture, decided in 1989 that is enough. I don't have anything to show for all the work that I put. There's no return from the business. We had an offer for $1 million buyout, and he wanted to actually sell the business and move on. Rest of us initially thought we will sell off and move on, but finally 6 of us decided that we will stick together and try. And he left us at that point. We bought his equity and he quit the company. It's very, very important to understand, what is the circumstance, personal circumstance, before you get into the business. Again, the alignment is very, very important. Is this the best environment to start a business? You need to ride a wave, typically. You need to ride an innovation journey, typically. That's the best time to, that's the best way to think about a startup, an innovative startup, for example. 1980 when Infosys was started, 81 when Infosys was started, personal computer was introduced by IBM. Proliferation of computers started from 1981. Every business started using computing from that time onwards. We were at the right time at the right place. The timing could not have been better. And IBM had quit India in 1977. It opened up opportunities for many startups to come in the IT area in India. And we were again at the right place at the right time. And of course, I was fortunate to see the whole IT revolution, not just in India, but in the world. Now, is it over? I firmly believe that the next 30 years are going to be even more exciting, because it's not just about IT now. It's the use of IT in every aspect of our life and every industry that we can think of. Automotive industry is going to transform because of self-driving vehicles and cars and things like that. And of course, alternate fuels, fuel efficiency, lots and lots of innovations happening in the automotive industry. Healthcare industry, again going to be transformed with precision medicine, personalized medicine, newer technologies, IoT, all kinds of things. I won't get into any. Fintech, we can see the revolution that's happening in India in fintech. Every single industry is going to be transformed. When every industry is transformed, every industry is getting disrupted, it's the best time to think about starting your own business, because by and large, disruptive ideas come from new businesses. Existing businesses end up defending their turf, working with their existing customers, protecting their revenue streams, protecting their profitability. The best leaders in those companies are needed to run their business, and they're given the responsibility to run existing businesses. startups find it very difficult, or new ideas find it very difficult to get support from larger organizations. And that's the reason why startups are the driver for innovation. New businesses are the engines for wealth creation, job creation in any economy. So it's the best time, I believe, to start a business, because everything is getting disrupted. Great place to start, India. I firmly believe so, because in India we can leapfrog. We can think about actually creating the new model, or the next model, as C.K. Prahlad would say, actually. Fantastic opportunity. And we have a blank sheet of paper in every aspect, actually. So let's just take an automobile itself. About 3.5%, 4% of our population own cars. Right? But affordability is going to increase. Middle class is growing, and potentially the number of people who can afford to buy cars is going to go up tremendously. And imagine then, if we sell the cars that we sell today, we're going to pollute ourselves to death. If we have individuals driving cars, our roads are going to be parking lots. There will not be any movement, actually. I thought I'm 7 kilometers away, but it took me more than 30 minutes to get from my hotel to here, actually. In Bangalore, the average speed today is 8 to 10 kilometers per hour in the city. So you can imagine, right, how much time it's going to take for us to go from place A to place B. What I'm saying is we have to rethink automobile. We have to rethink the industry. We have to think of ownership. People are now talking about using Uber and things like that, self-driving cars. We have to think about public transportation. We have to think about redesigning our cities. We have to think about new cities. We have to think about fuel. What is going to power these vehicles. All questions are there up for grabs. And that means opportunity for experimentation with new models in India. Everybody who owns a car, who could potentially own a car in the US already has a car. And I think per capita, US has 1.2 cars. So if you want to try out something, the resistance to change is significant in the US. In India, people are aspiring to buy cars. Our cities want new models. This is the best place to create these new models. This is the best place to experiment. This is the best place to think about new industry and things like that. And I can go on for every other industry that you can think of. Definition of success is extremely important. Again, it's a personal question, actually. What does success mean to you? Again, no right answer or a wrong answer. Money, happiness, peace, competition, winning, fame, all kinds of things, right? Accomplishment, recognition. But again, alignment is extremely important. Creating a startup is not just by one individual. It's a team effort. And you'll have co-founders. In fact, if you want to get funded, you better have co-founders, because the VC, especially the professional funding agencies, venture capitalists, want to de-risk. That means they want co-founders. They don't want one founder. Very rarely would they fund a company which has a founder. Plus, of course, it is difficult to find one person who has all the attributes that are required, marketing, sales, technology, coding, everything, it's very difficult to find. So you need probably 2, 3, 4 founders. So alignment is important, and the definition of success is important. Again, it'll actually pull them apart if things become challenging and difficult. Again, if you look at the Infosys example, one person said, we've not seen any wealth creation. In 1989, we still were living in rented apartments, no owned vehicles. All our batchmates from IITs, etc., settled in the US, fancy houses, fancy cars, money, traveling around the world, and we were not having any of that. And imagine the pressure it puts on our family and things like that. Family support is extremely important, and you're putting your family also into a challenging situation when you do a startup. And alignment, definition of success is important. The horizon for success is also equally important. Do you want a exit 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Are you able to wait for 20 years for a success? It is challenging to define when exit will happen for a startup because there are several factors that are outside your control. If you take a venture, if you get an investor in your business, they will also have a horizon for success, exit. And you need to align with that also, especially when you have investors. Again, the horizon for success is very, very important. Is your idea worthy of a business? Very important, here, we are showing a content-based startup is typically about creating a community. A product startup is about creating something that customers, solves a customer problem and is willing to pay for it. But basically, when you think about your idea, is that idea worthy of a business? Is that something that is it defensible? Is it fundable? Can it create a large business? Are there adjacent areas where you can create future products and future services? Because a business cannot be about just one product. You need a portfolio of products. So, can you create a sustainable business around that idea? And this is a first question a investor will ask you actually. What is the idea and how do you see this idea creating a business over time? And how do you want to create this? At Infosys, our idea was we will develop software from India for the world. And we'll support them, provide that as a service. We said, what we called a global delivery model. Providing services, usually software development services or maintenance services out of India for clients around the world, leveraging technology. Later on, we then took the model and applied it to business services. So the BPO industry started. You can think of engineering services. Anything that can be done on a computer can be done remotely over the telecommunication link. And that's basically the idea that we then took to the world, leveraging the talent that's available in India. Again, the talent pool is extremely important for this model to work. So that's what we started as an idea for a business. And of course, it was scalable. We were at the right place at the right time to do this. How do I start? Again, I will not get into the details, but there is, over and above the idea and the team and funding and things like that, there are a lot of regulatory things that you need to do. And especially when I talked about the manual for Indian startups, it actually talks about contracts, the legal requirements to do a startup, the registration that you need to do, founder agreements, if you want to apply for patents, rent, buy office, etc., etc. Again, series of questions that you need to answer, find answers for before you start a business. When and how I should raise capital. Again, there are defined rules and things like that. For example, initially you start with angel investors. Angel investors can give you maybe 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, not more than that. Then you go for seed funding, which will take you to maybe 1 crore or something like that. The venture funds typically come from 3 crores onwards, typically $1 million, that's about 6-7 crores, and goes on to Series B, Series C, etc. So there are clearly defined processes, rules, etc. It doesn't mean that you cannot break these rules, but I'm just saying that there are expectations set on how the fundraising will happen by the ecosystem, by the environment in which you're operating. It also means that you need to be connected. You need to have the network, and that's why incubators, accelerators are extremely important, because they provide you this ecosystem that helps you with all these answers and things like that. Finally, society does need startup. I talked about it. This is where this is how innovations are brought to the market, new products, new services, jobs are created, wealth is created. There was a study done in the US about job creation. Again, this data is available primarily for the US. Very little data is available about India. And again, a place like ISB should be able to actually generate this data and things like that. So what they found out was that 60% of the jobs are created by small and medium enterprises, typically employing maybe 20 people, 30 people, etc. on an average. 60% of the jobs are created by startups. Then they went one level below that, and they found out that out of this, almost 70% of the jobs, 80% of the jobs are created in the first 5 years of the business creation. And the reason for that is, what happens is, you start a business, you start hiring, and then you hit a plateau, and you remain as a small enterprise after that. Very few then migrate to become a medium-sized enterprise, and an extremely small percentage goes to becoming large enterprise. If I look at the Confederation of Indian Industries membership, 70% of the firms are small and medium enterprises. I think 60% of the firms are small and medium enterprises. So in some sense, it corroborates what I said just now. And that's another reason why, when we talk about job creation in India, we need to have large business creation events. In fact, I was thinking that we should set a goal for us saying that we will create 10 million new businesses in the next, let's say, 5 years. And make all efforts to create 10 million. The goals are very, very important so that we can measure, we can track, we can do the right things, we can allocate this to other people to take on as smaller goals and things like that. So we can say, 10 million, so each state, how many do you want to start? What target do you want to take, etc., etc. So if you have the desire, you have the sense of adventure, you have the idea, the commitment, passion, team, ability to take risks, your horizon is right, all these things, then startup is the right answer for you, entrepreneurship is the right answer for you. Having said that, I will also say this, entrepreneurs are people who believe in themselves very, very strongly. And entrepreneurs are people who actually listen probably, but then decide themselves to do whatever they want. They're people who truly believe in themselves, and that's why I was talking about Rishabh Pant and Sanjay Samson actually. If they were a little bit older, little bit more experienced, they would have thought it's an impossible target, so let me just defend and try and not get out or something like that. Experience is probably the wrong thing to have at that point. So, I always tell entrepreneurs, whatever advice I give you, take it with a pinch of salt, then you go and do whatever you want to do. Right? Successful companies are people created by people who didn't believe what is happening, what the status quo or what is happening and what is the conventional wisdom is not right. I want to change the status quo. I want to do something different. I want to make something happen. I want to do something new. But one advice I will give you, increase the probability of success. There are lots of things that are, and I have seen this actually, mistakes that should not be made by a startup because that's stupid mistakes. So for example, having informal agreements between founders or not registering the company and starting the business. Not thinking about your horizon, not aligning the values of the founders, not having an honest discussion about ask the question, are you planning to get married? If so, is this right for me or right for you? Very important questions. Even mundane thing, somebody's sick in the family, I need my steady income. Very, very important. Anything that is known, any mistake that can actually be addressed upfront. And this is what at Axelor that we do, and that's why we say this, increase the odds of success. There are many things that are impossible for you to predict. And again, I'll use one of my heroes, Steve Jobs, as an example. First time, of course, he created the Macintosh computer. Innovative product, successful product. I think I'm running out of time. Very quickly, I'll say this. He actually introduced it into the market, and he got fired from Apple for introducing Macintosh, a very successful product. Went out, did a couple of startups and things like that, and came back. He introduced an MP3 player when he came back. It failed. The first time he introduced an MP3 player, it failed. But he believed in it, and so he created a next version of that. That's the iPod. And then he released, and go back and listen to his interviews at that point. He said, I will probably sell 300,000 units of this iPod. Because it was a new product line for Apple, and the first one had failed. It became the turning point for Apple and sold millions of units actually. At that point again, somebody asked the question, because the phones were becoming very, very useful devices, and everybody was introducing a phone. So will Apple come out with the phone? He said no. Phone is a separate device. This is a MP3 player, a music. This thing. He said, I will not release a phone. But later on, he came and released a phone. At that point, somebody asked him, will you be introducing a tablet? He said, no. Then when he introduced a tablet, he said, I will not introduce a tablet, because he said, who wants a computer without a keyboard? And of course, that became a category and became a successful product. So even people like Steve Jobs underestimate, cannot predict the future. So increase the probability of success. There are a lot of unpredictable things, but think about the predictable things and do those things very well. So in the case of Steve Jobs, design, desirability, quality. It became aspirational. Everybody wanted whatever Apple created. It doesn't matter. It will not fail, and things like that. And software, driven ecosystem, etc. Thank you, and best wishes. So, the bottom line is, if entrepreneurship is something that you want to do it right, do it with seeking help from the right resources and things like that. The timing is right. India is the right place. Ride on a wave of technology. Look at other people who have done, learn from history, learn from others, and all the very best. Thank you.